Alright, my name is Alex, here is Pavel. We are working at General Arcade. It is a porting studio, so basically we help other teams to ship their titles on every platform possible you can imagine. We worked with Larian, Sega, Capcom, and etc. You can see on the screen. Our studio is based in Malaysia, right here in 5 minutes. Today we are going to talk about our experience with different projects, what bugs we have encountered, and what we learned from them. So, I would like to start with my first own project that I was working as a software engineer alone. It was 2-point hospital. I had to release it on GOG store, and everything was fine. Release was smooth, and everything, everybody liked it until someone noticed a small bug. It was about multiplayer. When player went online without profile icon, game throw an exception. Nothing too serious. I fixed it in a short amount of time. I just added a null check, and everything became good. I sent it to release, and after that, horror begins. Later that night, I see the message from my boss that no one wants to see. Basically, he says that game is totally unplayable, save games are corrupted, walls are invisible, publisher is angry. So, I was staring at the screen and already knew what was the problem. It was my fault, it is hard to admit. I knew that this project has a really long build pipeline. It consists of multiple scripts. And sometimes, after the build happened, references in the inspector, it was a Unity game, if I not mentioned, references are gone. It happens 1 of the 10 times, and I just forgot to test about this issue and send it to release. What have I learned from this? I have learned that release build is a ticking bomb, and you should treat it with care. You should check every possible mistake that can happen. I also fixed this issue later with adding a post-build script that was just checking nulls in the inspector and says that everything was fine. Yeah. I'd like to relax for a minute with a GIF of just a funny bug happened in Online Miami. Yeah, I will just see what about that. Let's continue with the Oceancraft experience. I guess you know this game. It is cool. It looks beautiful, but only from outside. Our task was to port it to a Nintendo Switch and optimize performance. At first, when our team opened this project in editor, our jaws dropped. It was a Cthulhu inside of the box. It has all bad practices you can imagine. I will show the screenshots of it on the next slide, so prepare. Yeah. First of all, they got millions of colliders on the screen that were not moving. I don't know why they used it. It could be done with only one. They also had tons of sprites without any compression, without sprite atlases, without sprite maps, and it all was very bad smelling. I'm not talking about the code. They also had lots of graphical issues because they had millions of sprite renderers for each object. Yeah, our team fixed it better or worse, I don't know. What have we learned from all this project? We want to say that everybody should start optimizing their game from the beginning. It is not that hard. It is harder to do it later. So please use good code practices. Use a profiler. It is not so hard to research. Yeah, the next portion of Hotline Mailbox. There you can see the dog turns out into a man, and you can see funny bug report that mentions that toilets are located improperly. Here is one line of code that I can show you. I want to talk about the project that I will not name. Issue was with the soldiers that don't want to heal themselves. They stopped it, but only on one platform. It was very strange. We searched every fixed update, and nothing was wrong. They were same on each platform, but this behavior occurred only on PlayStation. So I will have a small interactive with you. Take a guess. What line of code from this tool is correct? So think a minute and raise a hand if you think that first line is correct. And the second one? Yeah, you guessed it. The issue was with comparison to the float.epsilon. It is the smallest float value, and it can be different on different platforms. So Unity added their own math-F epsilon comparison. This issue can tell us that your code will work differently on other platforms, and you will never notice it until it's too late. So just check yourself, check builds, and test them well before you publish it on other platforms. Yeah.
So when we're reporting another project, let's call it blank, but I left some small clue about its name on the slide. Our QA team started reporting a really strange issue. The game would freeze for a brief moment every time the enemy was killed. So more than enemies died at once, there was the freeze. And things like explosions, and where a lot of enemies went down together, causing more noticeable stutter. So at first, we had no idea what happened, because the combat system itself wasn't so heavy, and nothing had changed in it since 2001, so there is no reason for performance to tank in such a way. So, what was that? We started digging, and eventually we found that the problem was in achievement system. So, every time you defeated an enemy, achievement counter updated, and that's expected, but it's not only updated in a memory, it also immediately wrote to the save file. So imagine typical fight in a game, you just killed 5 enemies with explosions, and that's 5 separate file writes, one after each other, so no wonder that frame rate couldn't keep up. So what's the fix? It was easy, we just changed our system and we update all the stats first in our memory and store it to save data only on some checkpoints. So every stutters are gone, and the enemies could die peacefully without dropping any performance down with them. So what lessons have we learned from this? I could say that think about file writes because they can cost you frame rate in some unexpected ways. So let's move on to our current project. It's called Captain Blood, and it's a pirate adventure game with intense combat and epic adventures. So, as a part of bringing this game to modern platforms, we had to upgrade a lot of their core systems like rendering, UI, file system, and one of the biggest things is upgrading the old physics engine from PhysX 2 to PhysX 5. So it wasn't an easy task, more like sailing through the storm without any sails. So let's take a look what we encountered along this way. First of all, when we reached the sea levels, things got really weird. We found out that our ships become racing across the sea, and it was impossible to shoot them, and the level was completely unplayable. So, what's the problem? The newest PhysX 5 calculates the mass of compound physics object differently than previous version, so our ships become lighter and their speed become higher, and as I said, level become unplayable. Next one related to executions. So in old version of the game and with old physics engine, the character controllers could went through each other, and this made the animation work smoothly. But PhysX 5 doesn't support this feature by default, so when our controller tried to go through another, it couldn't, and after that, physics engine tried to fix its position, causing just characters to fly around at high speed and camera struggling to keep it up. And the next one is my favorite, the ragdolls that become, instead of simulated, realistically falling and impact, they accidentally turned into some horrifying spider-like creatures. So the problem was again in some physics things. So newest version didn't apply the same joint constraints by default. It was an old version, and it caused that bones moved far away, stretching the model, and yeah, the ragdolls looks super scary. And let's wrap it up with some small team that we gathered along this way. It's our juggler and a dancer that completely forgot that they supposed to attack the player along the game, so they just perform their tricks and do nothing else. Captain Blood is set sails on 6 May, and you already can play the demo. Just scan this QR code and give it a try. And as we're saying about some lessons that we learn from all the projects, I can say that with Captain Blood, probably there is no really big lesson. So sometimes projects are just projects. You need to solve some tasks and never giving up.
We'll wrap it up with a few more advices that we gathered through our experience. I'll run through them quickly because they are not so interesting and entertaining. But sometimes it's not the developer's fault if something not work. We've encountered multiple times. So first example is our colleague was working on a game maker game, and the networking was working not properly. It took him 3 beta versions of networking plugin to fix it. Recently, I've been working on a game to be released on Google Play Pass service, and it took me a whole month to fight with their support. to prove that my build is all fine, and they should check it on their side. So they've just ticked some box and everything started working properly. And the last is GOG API. I was hoping that they will return a good language string, but they returned some mess. They fixed in the next update after that. I've mentioned about it. Yeah, here the list of our final thoughts. First of all, don't go chasing engine updates. Yeah, I'm talking Unity. We all know that Unity has a lot of new features with every update, but the games comes with a bag of bugs that they won't solve for a time. So just pick a LTS version and keep it up.
So design patterns, great, but use it only when it's really necessary, because otherwise it could become a curse and you will struggle to debug this code along the process of creating your game.
Yeah, a well-oiled team beats any tool pattern. I mean that you can be a godly programmer or QA, but it will cost nothing if your team is working on tasks that were closed 2 weeks ago and you just didn't tell them about it. Yes, next one is choose asset store plugins is here. Yeah, I'm talking again about Unity. Each plugin has a developer behind it, and the developers are humans and they make mistakes. I have lots of examples when big and famous plugins are working on. I can say about Mopiac ACS plugin that has a strength with leaking of memory. And I want to mention Fmod sound plugin. It crashed in our game when there was a trademark logo GIF in the path of the executable.
And remember that bugs will always find a way, but every bug is a teacher that you can learn from a lot of stuff and make a better one person that you were before.
Yeah, there is also one more phrase. If everything works correctly, you'd be fired already.
So yeah. Thanks for having us. So if you have questions, we can answer.
All right, thank you very much, Alex and Pavel. Please give them a big round of applause. Okay, so for now, we're gonna start and opening our Q&A session. So if you guys have any question, you guys can just raise your hand. Okay.
All right. My question would be on the API side of things. So when it comes to development, and given that all these APIs are dependent on the other platforms, how do you mitigate the part to not defer your timeline from the development while waiting for the support to come in from these platforms?
Basically, on all our projects, we have a task management system, and we have assigned a lot of tasks on our site. So we already know what we can do while waiting for support resolve issue. I'm currently waiting for Microsoft reply for already 2 weeks.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so anyone else?
In your opinion, what's the hardest platform to port to?
Definitely Switch. Yeah, because it's so hard to optimize things.
Okay, so anyone else? Okay, so if no one else is gonna ask, I'm gonna ask you guys 2 questions. Okay. So first, are there any tools or workflows we now swear by because of past spotting disaster?
Could you please repeat the question?
Okay, so are there any tools or workflows you now use because of past spotting disaster?
Yeah, I wanted to say that you need to use tests if you can do so. They will save you lots of time. Yeah, basically that's it.
Okay. And the next one is, what's been your most satisfying aha moment when solving a difficult solving bug? Like, aha, I solved this.
Give us a minute to try to remember something. This aha moments happens on every bug that you were struggling with more than a day. Yeah. On each project we have some bugs that are too hard to produce, too hard to find the reason, find the line of code that are doing it wrong. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.